Okay, the biggest thing I enjoy about subversive fiction is it assumes most of the common people are more like Clark Kent, where they have a baseline of values that just on the average they're decent human beings. A lot of postmodernist stuff, people like Holden and the Rossi crew, and you know, most of them have their warts and everything, but they're the exception to that society's standard. Everybody else in that book series, there are various levels of even more fucked up than the average human. That's what I'm tired of in most fiction shows and everything else that most postmodernist dreck wants you to look at. Now, to some people, is that the pinnacle of awesome storytelling? Yes, but to me, it's the pinnacle of trash heap. I'm tired of sifting through trash to try to find something I want to read. That's the reason why stuff like My Hero Academia and even a lot of the older pulps, Linsman, Barsoom, you know, the regular people in those series weren't a whole like abomination of a bunch of vices wrapped into a bunch of fuck ups. And to be honest, I don't see the Rossi crew as even exceptional to the level of even Clark Kent. You know, Clark Kent has a lot of noble virtues, just as his regular identity as Clark Kent. Like when he puts on his stuff on as Superman, that's him using his virtues and powers to genuinely uplift the society he lives in. It's the reason why I don't like the Snyder interpretation of that character. I know I've gone over it before, but that's the reason why I have the biggest disconnect with the Snyder version. A lot of more postmodernistic storytelling wants to air quote humanize characters and make them more fucked up than actual humanity is. And believe me, actual humanity can be pretty fucked up, but in a lot of shows and everything, even our news, everything we consume, there's hardly anything showcasing the small little acts of kindness that humans are capable of. Like there's this one little thing on YouTube I was watching one time where this hardworking guy keeps going by the same stuff every day, watering the plant, helping out the little old lady, helping the dog, feeding the dog every day, and eventually you see at the end that all his little acts of kindness built up into something big that changed the area around him. That's what I want to see more in fiction. Having characters that do smaller acts of kindness that bleed over into the wider world to showcase that humans are not all sad sack pieces of shit staring at the dirt and basically sniff their own farts the whole time. It's just a push and pull of, yes, I want more of the old style pulp values to be represented in mainstream culture. But that's also the reason why mainstream culture has broken down the way it has, and probably also the reason why Mass Effect had such a hollowed out ending that didn't resonate with a good chunk of people. And also the reason why a lot of reading levels have dropped off. This was explained in Pulp on Pulp a bit by Mr. Cohen. We're going to be fighting an uphill battle for like the next, I would say, if I'm being really honest, maybe the next 20 years. The pendulum is going to take a while to shift back, I think, if people don't really start to wake up. So I'm hoping that all this kerfuffle with what's happened with even more Disney Wars stuff, that maybe some more people will start realizing what I did once Bendis completely shattered, Superman archetype. It's always going to have to be something that somebody like loves so dearly that it finally makes them realize, like, it being a fan and a consumer of a brand isn't what is going to truly make you happy. I found that with all this stuff that's happened, me writing what I want to write has been pretty damn amazing. I know a lot of people will also have like a similar idea in some ways, but yeah, when I first started writing, and it was only in 2019, it was the beginning of something that was born out of the piss and vinegar of what happened in the breakdown of Superman. The Snyderverse version of Superman, Justice League, and everything else was a needle under my skin. But the true breaking happened with Bendis, because Bendis is a hack. He is not made for that kind of character. Bendis would probably do better helping out the Expanse people. He would probably do better with his little powers thing, where it was like a cop drama, where he could go off on his own tangents or do whatever he likes. It's the reason why, once I'm done with Uplift Protocol, like the main sequence, like, there we go. That is a beginning, middle, and end. I have a feeling that there's a fair amount of creatives that when they do their own thing, you can see what they're really honest to God interested in, and it doesn't look like they're really phoning it in. But when you have them try to take a mantle of an already established IP or set of characters, unless they really understand the archetype or the actual core of the character they're writing for, it's not going to ring true, which is the reason why Superman's stuff has fallen off a cliff. Snyder, to be honest, he fits better with the Watchmen type setup. He really does. Like, if you really enjoy that kind of aspect, Watchmen and all that other stuff, Snyder does that much better. He fits for that much better. He'd probably write Marvel type stuff better. All the people that they've gotten for DC side of things, for the more aspirational, iconic, more uplifting kind of themes, all these writers and everybody, they haven't been able to translate that too well because they themselves do not really connect with the aspirational. They don't connect with the virtuous. They connect with the more grim, gritty, we stare at the dirt, kind of mindset. The last time DC really had a good adaptation for a lot of its characters was probably all the animated series, and I could even tell, even though Superman the animated series had some really good stuff, I could tell that the Batman writers had more fun with Batman than most, in comparison to the Superman writers with the, you have to find people that genuinely enjoy the flat arc character, the iconic, the aspirational, in order for that to actually come across properly. JMS with Babylon 5, depending on the viewer's viewpoint, some people see Babylon 5 as a more downer setting. I see it as a more uplifting setting because it showcases that people can go beyond their regular bonds and form something that lasts. Sure, there's some cyclical stuff that happens to Earth, but guess what? Unlike fucking Expanse, in Deconstruction of Falling Stars, Earth is eventually healed by the Interstellar Alliance, along with the humans that escaped, the calamity that befell Earth, because they basically had, Clark versus everybody else 2.0 later on down the road. And they tried to use, like a digital replication of the Babylon 5 crew to do a smear campaign to be like, oh yes, they were warmongering and eugenics and blah, 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 blah. Like, no. That's the reason why I really do hope that people will just take a look at Babylon 5 and like, okay, that's how you mix light and dark without going overboard to the point where it loses its impact. Overall, yeah, Uplift Protocol will have a much brighter ending than Babylon 5 did, but by no means did Babylon 5 have a down, kick yourself in the groin downer ending. It didn't. And I'm thankful for that, because I don't think I would have been able to take it had everybody had a Ivanova or Londo result. Where sure, Londo and Ivanova were able to um, save a lot of people, depending, but their whole storyline, you know, Ivanova, even romantically, yeah, she never caught a break in that arena. Londo didn't catch a break in the Karma arena either, even though he was warned. But the standard right now is far too nihilistic. A lot of shows and everything else coming out nowadays go well beyond what the reimagined Battlestar Galactica did for its own conclusion. Because even the reimagined Battlestar Galactica had to end it on a lighter note in some ways, because the whole setting, they took the more apocalyptic angle to the forefront. But kind of like what Babylon 5 did, it wasn't all dark all the time. You got to see more of what would humanity do in certain situations, but it showcased more of their virtues and their fortitude than like the constant refrain of humanity sucks, humanity sucks, humanity sucks, humanity sucks, humanity sucks, humanity sucks. Because even in, like I said, with my retail job, I see the best things out of humanity there, and I see the worst things. But far too often, most modern media and shows will focus, like, say, 80% on all the shit and shit byproducts, and maybe show you a few showcasing examples of, oh, look, there's some virtue in there, which the Expanse people shoved that into basically Holden and his crew. But even all of them, it's a pale imitation of what Clark Kent was able to do. And I could only hang on to that so long. I tried, but it became a complete disconnect of what I really actually wanted. Did it start off pretty strong? Yeah, because you had a general mystery, you got to see how people were set up. But it eventually devolved into what would happen if David Weber never wrote any virtues into any of Harrington's enemies, who eventually become allies, and they eventually all turn around and take down the actual big bad guy, who's using everybody as pawns. And that's the difference of reason why I can still read Weber's Harrington series and some of his other stuff, because he knows humans have their flaws and their warts and everything else, but when push comes to shove, Mr. Weber showcases more of humanity's virtues rather than their vices. Have a good day, everybody.